Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We have another game for you today, recently brought to us by ganeshagames, the producers of For Against Darkness and Alone Against Fear. Poor Dot. Now this game, I have a love-hate relationship. I love the game design, but it hates me. It's been designed to hate me. 9d6 quest. Let's take a look. So, welcome to 9d6 quest from ganeshagames, released recently. And this is a dice management game set in a fantasy world where you are going to be exploring the wilderness and the locations around you, trying to find fame, glory, treasure, and the ultimate goal is to complete all 9 of the missions. In this game, as you can see from the title, you are going to be managing and manipulating 9 dice. And these dice represent your health, your resources, your equipment, your ability, your skill. It's all represented by these dice. Now, later in the game, you may be able to add extra dice, but we'll explain that a little bit later. But as the name says, this is a 9d6 quest. But you will get the rule book, you will get the character sheet, you will get sort of higher resolution versions of the maps, of which there are 6. You've got 6 different maps, you've got 9 different missions. The PDF will also come with a bunch of standees. Now, the colors on my printouts are a bit off because my printer was running out of ink. I also changed the background colors. When you get the PDF, these will all have a black background, but to save ink, I just changed the color to white. But yeah, the colors are all off, but I'm probably not going to be using the standees in the actual game demo playthrough example. I'll probably be using some miniatures which kind of fit the artwork. I think these are from Arcadia Quest, all the little chibis. I mean, if you've got Arcadia Quest, the miniatures would be perfect for this. And they even fit on the map. Look, they're perfect. Now you need to. I mean, don't ignore the artwork. The artwork is very well done. It's just a little bit cutesy, and it doesn't really reflect what the game's about. Because the game itself can be quite vicious, especially if, like me, you're cursed by dice gods and you roll a lot of 1s. Because in this game, you're rolling these dice to achieve successes over challenges and encounters and combat. And if you roll 1s, you automatically fail. Or rolls of 1 automatically fail. Rolls of 6s are always successful. I roll a lot of 1s. That's why I have a love-hate relationship with this game. I love the design, but the 1s. Well, I'll illustrate that a bit later. But in this game, you're going to be exploring a map. So first thing you do is you will select a character. There are 13 different characters in the game, all having various bonuses and penalties and things that they can do better, things that they can't do as well. And it does bring a lot of variety to the game. So if you take a different character every time, you are going to have 13 very different games. Once you've selected the character you want to use, then you roll a d6 to determine which map. And these maps are numbered. Map 5, map 3, map 1, 6, 4, and 2. So you select a character, you roll to see which map you're going to use, and then you roll a d6 to select the mission. Now, in this game, there are 9 missions. To begin with, only the first 6 are available. The other 3, missions 7, 8, and 9, can only be selected if you basically roll a mission that you've already done. So let's say, for example, your first mission, you roll a 4. Okay, you complete the mission. I've yet to complete a bloody mission. But if you complete the mission, you can then do the next mission. You roll the dice again, it comes up 4 again. You have a choice. You can do the same mission again if you want to. I don't recommend that to begin with, however. Or you can select one of the other missions that you can't normally get. Numbers 7, 8, or 9. Now, why don't I really recommend doing the same mission again? Well, to complete the game, you have to do all 9 missions. That is when you complete the game, you become a hero, and everybody loves you. And the missions are very different. You can have ones which are combat focused. You can have ones where it's more about collecting treasure. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of how Alone Against Fear sets you up and creates the game. Oh, by the way, I have some videos on Alone Against Fear, another Ganesha game. Brilliant. Another thing that this has in common with Alone Against Fear is that you are rolling all the dice from your character's perspective. So the enemies that you face do not roll dice to hit. Instead, you are rolling dice to defend. So you are always the active participant in whatever you're doing. You're always the one who's rolling the dice. Again, Alone Against Fear did the same thing, and I loved that game. Follow the link. Follow the link to see my adventures of Dot. Poor Dot. Right, the name of the game is 9d6 Quest, and you are going to manage and utilize 9 6-sided dice. Hence the name. Now, at the start of the game, these 9 dice are going to be in this top box here called Fresh Dice. There are 3 other boxes on your character sheet. You have Tired Dice, Wounded Dice, and Dead Dice. Now, the basic mechanic of this game, the main mechanic, is what we call the dice manipulation, or downgrading and healing of your dice. Because these dice represent your health, your ability, your equipment, and your resources. Clever, that all that in just this one thing. And yeah, basically you are going to be using these dice to overcome dangers and encounters, and also to combat enemies and monsters. Now, at the start of the game, your dice will start in that top box, Fresh Dice. As you explore the map, and again, as we play through, you'll be able to see how we do this, but as you encounter dangers or combat, what you'll be doing is using your dice, your collection of dice, to overcome challenges. Now, each of these challenges or combat will have a difficulty, denoted by the capital D. So, for example, you could be fighting a skeleton with D4, which means it has a difficulty of 4. Now, that would be your target number that you need to get on at least one of your dice. So for each encounter or challenge or combat, what you will do is you will select a number of dice from your collection. So let's say, for example, our skeleton has a difficulty of 4. I think 3 dice should be enough. I think I can get a 4, 5, or 6 on one of these dice, because you're taking the highest result, not the combined total. So normally in an encounter, unless it says otherwise, you will attack first. So you will roll the dice. Okay. So we get let's put it down here, a 1, a 3, and a 5. So we take the highest, which is the 5. It's higher than difficulty 4, which means we hit the skeleton, or we overcome that challenge, because it's equal to or higher than the difficulty. Yay! Wonderful. However, you'll also notice that I rolled a 1. This is something very common for me. And it's actually the reason why I have a love-hate relationship with this game. Whenever you roll a 1, that's when downgrading takes place. It moves down 1 level. So now that dice is referred to as being a tired dice. If I had rolled this, for example, I would still have succeeded in the combat. I would have dealt damage to the skeleton, but both of these dice would have downgraded. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, because once all your dice are downgraded, that they are all in that bottom box which says dead dice, you is dead. Your character is failed and your campaign is over. Oh yes, now you can see why my missions and my campaigns haven't lasted very long, because this happens very quickly for me. There are also major enemies, bosses and stuff, that when you fail to defend, dice can actually go straight to the dead box instead of just like downgrading. For example, like with the skeleton. Let's say, for example, with the skeleton, I rolled, let's say, for example, against the skeleton, I rolled that. So if this was my attack roll, I don't hit the skeleton, this dice goes back there, these two get downgraded. I then have to roll for defense because the skeleton is still alive. So maybe I'm selecting 3 dice again. Now, you must always use fresh dice if you have them. I can't take 1 from here and take these 2 and roll that. I have to use fresh dice whenever possible. So I'm now defending against a skeleton because I didn't hit him. So it's the same difficulty for attack and defend. And okay, I get 2 4s and a 1, which would mean I defended. I take no damage from the skeleton. These would go here. This would also downgrade. Again, you can see here how this game is designed to hate me. I roll a lot of 1s. But what if, for example, what if I failed? What if I rolled, again, another failure, for example? What if I rolled this for my defense? Well, put the dice back, that gets downgraded again. But with this game, the way that damage is done is that it's not taken from hit points or health or anything like that. It affects your dice. So for minor foes, normally, unless it says otherwise, normally you will downgrade 1 dice. That represents the damage. So if the skeleton, if I failed the defense roll and the skeleton actually hits me, I would have to downgrade 1 of my dice, either from fresh to tired or from tired to wounded. Okay? With bigger enemies, it may say that you have to kill 1 dice, in which case that happens, or that happens. And when dice come down to the dead box, the lowest level, you can't use them anymore. All right? Nasty, huh? But let's say we rolled this for defense. I really don't want to get damaged, and I don't want to have that downgrade there. But what you can actually do is a reroll. If all of your dice fail, you can roll any number of those dice again. However, any dice that you re-roll will automatically be downgraded, no matter what you roll. What else is there? Okay, there are some situations or skills or items or characters or character types that can give you free re-rolls. Now, a free re-roll is one where it has a specific use. So, for example, it may say that this character gets a free reroll against dragons. So whenever you attack a dragon, you can actually choose, let's take that, to reroll, and it will say attack or defense or whatever. So let's say it gives me +1 reroll for attack. I roll this for attack, I don't hit. I have, because of maybe my character type, I get a free reroll against dragons. Okay, I can reroll 1 of those dice. Now, the difference between a free reroll and a normal reroll is that free rerolls don't automatically downgrade unless you roll a 1, like normal. So free rerolls are very, very useful if you can get them. What else? There are other ways to manipulate the dice. For example, let's say we have completed the first mission and my dice are like that. So I have 2 fresh, 1 tired, 3 wounded, and 3 dead. Right, so we've completed the mission and we are ready to begin the second mission. Well, in between missions, any dice in the dead box get moved up to wounded. Another thing that you can do between missions, if you have enough treasure or treasure points, TP, is you can actually spend treasure points on your dead dice to bring them up to fresh. Yeah? You can also use treasure points to bring others up as well. During the game, as you're playing the game and you move into hexes which have towns, villages or temples, you can also spend treasure points. So healing is there, but you need to have treasure points, which is the equivalent of gold or valuables, to actually get that to happen. So it's a very clever little mechanic, very clever little game, but it hates me. Oh, another thing is that whenever you complete a combat and you defeat the enemies, you can actually move 1 tired dice up to fresh. That's like your battle reward on top of other things that you may find, yeah? But that's only done when you complete the whole combat. If you're up against one enemy, yeah, and you complete it, you defeat them, you can move 1 dice from tired to fresh. If you're fighting against 2 enemies, you have to kill both of them before you can move 1 dice up. Another thing, what you'll find, again, unless it says otherwise for the specific creature, is that for minor enemies like skeletons, goblins, whatever, you only need to hit them 1 time for them to die. Major enemies like the bosses are going to require multiple hits. They have hit points, yeah, which means you need to attack them multiple times and do damage multiple times. You can also find scrolls which will allow you to cast magic. If you're playing a mage character, you can use scrolls to gain glory points, or you can use it to give you the new spell. But then the scroll is gone. What else is there? You can find magic items. Magic items, when you find one, you can select which one to take, but you can only ever have 1 of each kind. You can sell scrolls and magic items in the town to get you more treasure points. And that basically is the game. Now, in terms of the specifics, what we'll do is we'll play through and you can see how the game actually plays, and you'll see all the extra little rules, all the little situations as we're playing. And hopefully, I won't die so quickly. Right, we've had a quick overview of how the game works, and you've seen why it hates me. But it is a very clever little design. But let's get into a little bit of a playthrough, an instructional playthrough that I normally do with these games. So first we have to choose our character. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the scout character. And again, I'm going to be using this miniature from Arcadia Quest to represent my character. But you do get, like I mentioned, you do get these standees with the game. And again, I did change the background color from black to white just to save a little bit of ink. But I'm going to be using a miniature because that's what I do for a lot of these. So we're using the scout. Right, what are the abilities of the scout? You get 2 free rerolls on any exploration roll. So a lot of the time when you move from one hex to another hex, you'll be asked to make exploration rolls and what you're searching for to avoid dangers and stuff. So this is a very useful ability. Also, you reduce difficulty of dangers by 1. Yeah, sometimes you'll have these challenges, these encounters where you have to avoid danger. So this makes it easier. Also, if you're fighting in any forest, swamp, hills, mountain, hex, you get 2 free rerolls every turn. Again, very, very useful. So we are playing a scout, and I have named my scout, again, because the model's an elf. Armalas. Because, you know, we've had Legolas, now we've got Armalas. Right, so that is my character. I've chosen to use the Scout. Next thing we need to do is we need to roll a d6 and find out which of the 6 maps we're going to be using. So we roll a d6, we get a 5. So I am going to be using map 5, which is this one here. Okay. Now, normally you'll be starting in a random starred hex. One of these hexes here is where you normally start, but depending on the mission may actually say that you start somewhere else. So, after determining the map, the next thing we have to do is to determine the mission. So we go to the mission page. Right, now, like I mentioned before, there are 9 different missions. Okay, but to begin with, you roll a d6. You're only going to have access to the first 6. Missions 7, 8 and 9 will only be available if you roll a mission that you've already done, and then you can choose to do one of these instead. Game ends when you do all missions. So like I say, it may not be in your best interest to keep repeating the same mission again and again and again. You should do these ones. Right, so which mission are we doing? We roll a 6. The Blessing. Okay, so this is, it's quite a lot to read, so let's have a look. Start in a random star hex. So like I mentioned just now, we're going to be starting in one of these hexes. I'll roll for that in a bit. You must reach the closest town or village. Right, well, it depends on where we start, really, isn't it? That's, again, there's a reference in the back of the book here. Village looks like that. Town looks like that. Temple looks like that. Necromancer's tower looks like that. So we need to get to the closest town or village. Well, that's a town. Those are villages. These are villages. There's only one town here. If I start here, then that will be the closest. If I start down here, then these will be the closest. Okay, we can do that when we determine where we start. Right. And then from there, escort a noblewoman to a temple hex to be blessed by the high priest. So temple is there. So if we're lucky, we can start in one of these, go there, get the woman, bring her down to there. Sorted. The forces of evil will try to stop you. Of course they will. Every time you enter a hex, roll a 1 in 6 chance of encountering a random minor foe. Okay, so I'm assuming that that's every hex from when we start, not just when we grab the noblewoman, I think. Right, so 1 in 6 chance of encountering a random minor foe every hex. If that doesn't happen, immediately roll a 3 in 6 chance of encountering a random major foe. Oh, what? Is that the right way round? A 1 in 6 chance of encountering a random... As you may have realised, I haven't done this mission before. I've done, I think, 5 missions so far. Failed them all. But I haven't done this one. So roll a 1 in 6 chance of encountering a random minor foe. If that doesn't happen, immediately roll a 3 in 6 chance of encountering a random major foe. Is that right? I'm thinking that might be the other way round. So 1 in 6 chance of a major, 3 in 6 chance of a minor. Because you're going to be coming up across a lot more major foes than minor foes. Am I wrong? When you reach the temple, 5 minor foes of the same type, okay, and 1 random major foe will attack you. You will have no time to rest, so you cannot recover any tired dice between battles. What? So I can't recover tired dice between any battles? Oh my god. After the woman is blessed, you will have to take her back to her town or village with the same chances of encountering as before. You may also pay for your own healing while at the temple, if I have TP. You may also pay... upon bringing her home, you receive 2 glory and 1 TP or 3 TP, your choice. The noblewoman has no game stats. She is assumed to survive the adventure as long as your character survives. Okay, now this is a major thing because I need to... I think I need to check this before we continue. Right, we're back. Had to take a pause for a few hours, but I did hear back from Andrea. This is correct. So it seems we're going to be facing a whole bunch of major foes, and I don't want to be negative, but this could be my 6th disaster in a row. My first 5 games, I was basically just rolling too many ones, and now, oh dear, this is going to be a tough mission. Okay, so we are on map 5. We are doing mission 6. Let's see where we're going to start. So we're starting in a random star hex. We get a 4. Oh, damn it, I was hoping we were going to be up here. Okay, so actually starting on this hex here. And I have to go to the closest town or village. Choose if there are multiple. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got to go here to collect that noblewoman. And, oh God. And then we've got to take her to the temple. Why couldn't I have been up here? This is when I want to roll a 1. Because then I can go here, go here, go here. Done! Oh no, I've got to go down here, I've got to go up here, I've got to go down here. Oh my God, okay. Right, give me a couple of seconds to sort everything out and we will start the mission.